We are on. Anybody remember?
No, I wasn't,
Anybody,
I think.
anybody have a yes for that?
48.
We are still on 48, which is the Psalm for Mondays. So last time I didn't have with me my little book, the Psalm Songs book, which is the Gaya's Aronoff Bernstein's beautiful poetry, which is a poetry synopsis of the Psalms. I'm going to read it to you. Then we'll go into the Psalm, which we talked about last time. We had a beautiful, beautiful discussion. And today I'm going to bring a lot of commentaries and a beautiful, interesting midrash for us to discuss. God's power immense is there. God's power immense is there. You can see it in holy Jerusalem, home in beautiful earth, in mountains and landscapes. His universe, palaces fit for the king. The rulers here of flesh and blood all labor and beget more trembling, mortal flesh and blood. A breeze, a breath, a thought from God can crash their ships against the rocks or make them blow away. We hope, imagine that you will be true to us and kind and just. And like the hills around the Mount of Zion and Jerusalem, you will protect and cradle us to the end of worlds and time. So just from that poem, what are people thinking that this is about, this psalm? I mean, we did speak about it already for those who were here. Thoughts?
It's more about the fact that Jerusalem is the cradle.
Oh, that Jerusalem is the cradle. Yes.
And that's what protects us.
Beautiful. Oh, that's what protects us. Maybe the temple then.
Yeah.
I wonder. Yeah. Times of the temple. Not. There's a big, not controversy, but certainly discussion about whether this psalm was written during the temple times, or remember we spoke about that. Is it wishing for the future? Is it describing some sort of victory? Not clear. What we do know is that the psalm is beautiful and uplifting and talks a lot about the beauty of Jerusalem. So I'm going to read it in the translation from this book. A psalm by the sons of Korach. Remember we spoke about Korach last week? Who remembers? Who was Korach?
The rebel. He was a Levi.
A Levi, true, a rebel.
And the cousin of Moshe and Aaron.
A cousin of Moshe and Aaron.
He was maybe envious of
and
the
he
power.
Rebelled. Yep, he rebelled. And as far as we know, he was swallowed up with his 250 male followers, and we think with his sons. And yet we see that we have Mizmorim, we have Psalms that were written by the sons of Korach. And we spoke about the fact, did we speak about the fact that they did tshuva?
Yeah.
We spoke about the fact, Ellen says yes. We spoke about the fact that they did tshuva, and therefore they were rescued from the brink of death. In fact, there's a beautiful story, not a story, a midrash that describes them falling in the chasm towards hell. And they kind of fall on a medium place and land on a ledge. And that's where they wrote the Psalms, meaning they did tshuva. I mean, I don't know what that means in real life, because that doesn't happen in real life, but there was a continuity to them. And I think the beautiful thing that we can take from that is that children do not have to be defined by their parents' actions, nor do they have to be defined by what they learned in their parents' homes. Okay.
Question.
Yeah.
When it says Shir Mizmor Livnei Korach, you translated it. It was written by the sons of Korach. It could also be that it was a psalm that was written in honor of them.
So here's the thing. I would have thought so. And we would have thought that when it says Mizmor le David, a psalm for David or by David, le David Mizmor. But for some reason, that is not the way it's understood. So it is possible that is that a preposition when it's by, for?
Yes.
So that letter in Hebrew often is used as a preposition in different meanings and different nuances. It is possible that when these were written, that the preposition meant something a little bit different. That is very possible. So for us, it feels odd because it feels like, oh, somebody wrote it in honor of them. But it seems that that's not what it means. And maybe it's because of biblical Hebrew.
Okay, thank you.
That's the best I can answer. I'm not a linguist per se, but that's the best I can answer because it's never translated any other way. It's always translated as these are the ones. Also, Tfilah Moshe, that there's a psalm that's written by Moshe. Everybody says that's written by Moshe. So mountain.
You're muted. Oh, for a minute
I
you were
am?
muted. You
I was
were.
muted. People didn't hear me. I didn't change my setting. Well, I guess we saw what happened. Some glitch in the internet. Yeah, went out and in. Okay, let's start again. I didn't touch the mute button, but it just had some internet glitch. A psalm by the sons of Korah. God is great and abundantly praised when God builds the godly city on God's holy mountain.
Oh, is that mine? Somebody's phone.
No. Yeah, that's my daughter calling with my granddaughter from it. They'll have to wait. I'll just tell them that I'm teaching, so I can't. They often call me when she's eating supper and I read her a story. So I'll just let you know. Sorry, people who are watching this on Zoom. Okay. So what I wanted to say is when God builds the godly city on God's holy mountain. So, we might think that's Tzfat. Anybody ever been there? It's on a mountain. It seems to be holy, but that's not what it's talking about. It's only talking about Jerusalem. Like we all know that's what it's talking about is Jerusalem. And on the holy mountain means the mountains of Judea. Hare Yehuda, or the mountains of Judah. Most beautiful joy of the earth is Mount Zion, the northern aspect of the king's great city. I just want to read it so we get the beauty of what it's talking about. When God dwells in Jerusalem's palaces, God will be seen as its stronghold. Kings will assemble to attack the city together. We spoke about that. Are they really gathering to attack? But they will see God and be confused and fright. They will run in panic. There they will be gripped by trembling with pains like a woman in labor. They will face an eastern gale that smashes ships in Tarshish port. All that we heard from the prophets, we will see in the city of the God of angels. It is God's city. God will preserve it forever. God, we picture your love from the heart of your temple. Just as your name is great, so too is your praise from all the world. Goodness fills your right hand. Let Mount Zion rejoice, the nearby cities of Judah delight when you come to judge the nations. Walk around Zion, all who will build it. Go around the outside, count the towers it will need, regard its walls and build high its palaces, to then tell of its beauty to later generations. Ki zeh Elohim, Eloheinu olam ba'ed, hu yenahagenu almut. For this is God, our God forever. God goes before us always. It's just getting this feeling of God's holiness. Moshe, I love when you sit there, but we always see is the light. I guess because it's always the same time of day, so we see rays of light coming from
Not hearing you.
Not Robert Moshe. Moshe.
Oh.
You're fine, Robert Moshe.
Okay. This
Moshe's fine too, but we see a lot of sun from behind you, which isn't bad. Okay, so we're feeling God's holiness. Yes. What did you want to say, Judy?
No, I just was saying I couldn't hear you for a little bit.
Again?
Yes. Now it's fine.
I hope that will pass. I'm so sorry. I don't know what else to do because I'm not touching the computer. Okay.
Is there a reason why this particular psalm was chosen for Monday?
That is such a great question, and I want to address that right now. Good lead into my next commentary. So The psalm begins, great is the Lord and highly to be praised in the city of our God on God's sacred mountain. So the answer to that is, according to the Talmud, this is because on the second day of creation, God separated what God made, dividing between the upper waters and the lower waters, and ruled over them as king. And this psalm speaks of Jerusalem as the city of a great king. It feels a teeny bit tenuous to people, like a little bit, not tenuous, far-fetched. On the second day of creation, God created the sky or firmament by dividing the waters. And yet the psalm says nothing about sky or waters. Rather, Martin Buber translates it as the beautiful summit. As a matter of fact, there's a group of psalms, which we might have time to go into, that are known as the Songs of Zion, which praise Jerusalem. So we still have a question, because it feels a little bit far-fetched that it has to do with God separating the upper and lower waters and creating the firmament, and then God is king. Because in a way, you could say on every day of creation, God is king. And in fact, this person says that if we looked at Psalm 36 or Psalm 68, so I'm going to quickly look at that to see why that would be better for the second day of creation. So Psalm 36, Lamnatzer for the conductor. Let me just see. Hashem b'shamayim chastecha. God, your kindness is in heaven.
At 36.
36.
No,
That's what he says. 36 or 48 or 68, sorry.
Lam Natzech le'eved Hashem leDavid. Isn't that 30? Yeah, that's 36.
Yeah, I'm just looking to see. It says that God is the source of life. In your light, we see light. Not 100% sure why that would be. Let's look at 68 and see if that has better. Remember, we said that it's possible the 7 days of the Psalms correspond to the 7 days of creation. Oh, 68 is very long. Yeah, this is beautiful. Yeah. Let me just see. I'm just looking at some of them. Anybody wants to look at 68, you're welcome to. Acclaim the one who rides in heaven. Pronounce God's awesome name. So that would be one. And where else? The earth trembled, the heavens rained down in the presence of God. Even Mount Sinai shook before God. Okay. God, you brought down rain. Your land was exhausted. You restored it. So that could be about separating the waters a little bit more. I'm trying to think what else. God's mountain is especially lush. So I think it's just a little bit, it has a little more connection that with separating the waters and land coming out. It still doesn't feel like it's so connected, even when I look at 68. So I want to say, I don't know why but there are probably more that speak about that has to do with creating the sky. There was some connection to sky. So here we go. In the discussion in the Talmud, the rabbis glean from the second day of creation the idea of God's ultimate power expressed by God dividing the waters and creating the firmament. So why pick Jerusalem so listen to this beautiful idea. Remember, this psalm is all about Jerusalem. And if we want to compare it to God separating the waters and creating land, perhaps one answer is found in the belief that Jerusalem is the axis mundi, or mundi, I guess that's from Latin, the sacred connection or umbilical cord between the heavens and the earth, where God's power is felt and experienced in a different way. So that is, think about it, that's a really beautiful idea of, God is the one who separated the waters, land, but then if you think about it, it's as if Jerusalem is like the magnet where everything is pulled through. In fact, we have a saying that God brought down 10 portions of beauty into the world, and Jerusalem took 9/10 of it. Now, has anybody who here has been to Jerusalem?
Yeah.
Yes.
I would like to know maybe the first time you came to Jerusalem. Ellen also has her hand raised. I know how I felt, but I want to know, when you first saw Jerusalem, you turned the corner of the mountains, right? You remember that, especially, it used to be, you had to turn many corners till you saw the first building. What did it feel like to see Jerusalem? I'd love for everybody to share one thought about that.
Awesome.
Awesome. What was awesome about it?
Yeah, you've learned all your life about Jerusalem, Jerusalem, Jerusalem. And now here you are. It's like, is this like real?
Nice, beautiful. Any other thoughts? Could be the same. I don't mean other, different. Elaine?
Well, when I first went there was not the whole city. It was before 1967. So
Whoa.
it was like a small town.
Wow.
And
So
what did it feel like? Not so much? Not so grand for you?
no, it was like I knew a lot of people on the street. It was a small town. Now
Oh, it
it's
was a small
different.
town feeling. Oh, that's nice. So what did it feel like when the first time you were there?
I don't streets named after kings. I don't know. It seemed a little British, but that
Oh,
was a long time
interesting.
ago.
That's okay. That's okay. That's fine. Joan? Moshe, we
So
can't
I
see you
went
again.
there, maybe, I don't know how many years back, but not too long ago, maybe 5, 6 years. And I went because I was going to give a class at Hebrew University, and we went to a hotel. And I didn't feel anything that special. Now, keep in mind, I don't have that much background. And there were restaurants, and I don't know, it didn't seem that holy to me at the time, but maybe because I was focusing on what I had to do.
I understand. And was that the first time you were in Jerusalem?
I think I was there many years back, but I don't have any remember when I was like 20 years old or so. I don't remember it at
Oh,
all.
then you don't remember. Okay. Moshe,
No.
what about you? Moshe, we literally can't see you. Can you move over? Yeah. Move over like where Joan is. It's just, you
Yeah.
don't see. We only see
Oh
radiance.
yes, that's right.
Well, that's it.
Yeah,
That's
me
it.
like Moshe Rabbeinu. Maybe we should cover that.
Moshe Rabbeinu. Yeah. It's really hard to see you. It's
Well,
actually
yeah.
painful. A bit. Yeah.
My apartment gets very good light, so that's why.
Yes, go Kurt.
Is there any way to turn your chair so the wall is behind you and turn the computer a little bit?
Is this better?
Is that better?
No.
That's worse.
It's better if you move your chair in the
Yeah,
same
no.
line.
But then Joan won't be in the picture.
No,
It
you
doesn't-
can't move the computer? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. What struck me was like, when the sunlight hit, the reflection on the buildings. It was like, I thought it was very, I don't know, mystical. That they have that certain stone that they used to build.
It's called not used to, Evan Yerushalmi, or Jerusalem stone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is all of the buildings in Jerusalem. There's an edict, they must be built with Jerusalem stone.
And when it was going down, I remember, I guess the spectrum of the buildings. I was like kind of, awesome how each building had the same.
It does. It is beautiful. Yes, I agree that that's something that moves me as well. Anybody else want to share? Yeah, Helen.
What I remember is going to the wall.
The Western Wall, yeah.
Yeah, that's, just, that's where the temple had been.
That feeling that you're connecting past and present.
Yes.
I hear that. Beautiful. Robert Moshe, were you in Yerushalayim?
Several times over the years, but I think I guess the best part was just simply being there, just simply being in Israel, being in the land of Israel itself. You don't have to do anything special or different. Just actually being there in itself is the holiness, spiritual high.
Wow. Okay. And any difference in Jerusalem?
Israel is Jerusalem is the holiest part of Israel, so that's
Did that feel
the
like
cream
that
of
to
the
you?
crop, for sure.
The crop. Okay, beautiful. Ellen, do you want to share?
I think that it wasn't even just the wall. It was all of those stones That
Of the
whole
Western Wall?
city.
The
No,
whole-
but
the
the whole
old city?
the old city.
The old city.
It's so ancient. I felt as if I was touching history. And
Whoa.
it made any other history like you
That's
know,
a-
battlefields in the United States or something. It made them seem like nothing compared to the history of
So
those
ancient.
stones. Yeah.
Wow. That's really beautiful feeling. And Joan, I don't want to take away from yours. You may have been expecting something that felt more, as you said, holy or uplifting, and maybe you were disappointed that you didn't feel that way.
I did
So
go to the wall. I did, and I think I put a prayer in, but it was very crowded. And you had to kind of wait in line, and then there were all these restaurants, and so it seemed like a hotel, and so there was a modern. Now this was fairly recent, as I said, so that
it was a
cool.
modern feel, like a modern city, you're saying.
Yeah, there was a modern overlay there, certainly.
So you didn't feel that it was special for Yerushalayim. You didn't feel a specialness of this city. It felt like the others.
I don't recall feeling that.
No, that's totally fine if you didn't feel it. I mean, you can't argue with your feelings.
I'm going to go back. Maybe I'll have a different feeling now.
Maybe after learning about it more, that's very possible. Yes. When I first went, the first time I was there was in 1968, and that I don't have so much memory from that. I mean, I don't have memory of Yerushalayim specifically, but from 1972, when I went there for high school, and then it was, it wasn't as built up, so that, as I said, you had many turns to get into the city before you would see the city. And I can't explain to you why. I always felt so heart lifted every time I would see the city first appear. It was like hiding behind the next bend or the next turn in the road. And it still feels to me like a special place, with the restaurants and with the hotels and all that. I understand what you're saying about it being commercial. To me, it still has a feeling like that. And it's so hard to know, is it from learning about it and dreaming about it? Is it the white Jerusalem stone? Is it that there's so much history in the city? They still kept many places that feel historical, whereas in Tel Aviv, less. Tel Aviv feels more like a modern commercial city to me. Good, not a bad way. So I guess that, and it's even more crowded today. That's true. Many ultra-Orthodox live there, and Orthodox, in fact, it's more Orthodox than secular, from what I understand.
The old city felt like a separate place, though.
The old city does feel like a separate place.
Yeah.
I will agree with that.
And then, of course, the city of David right next to it, or a few of those places. But the modern Jerusalem feels like a separate.
Yes. Oh, so Ellen is saying, if you look at modern city of Jerusalem as opposed to the old city, capital O, capital C, so that does feel much more ancient.
Yeah.
And there's 4 quarters. Is there Armenian quarter, the Christian quarter, the Muslim quarter, the Jewish quarter? And then you're walking through these very, very narrow streets from Jaffa Gate or the different gate. Yes, that does feel more ancient. That's true. I would imagine that could feel more ancient, crowded or not. And even there's metal detectors you have to go through. I think, there are security measures. Going up onto the Temple Mount felt very powerful to me. That's where I really felt the old and the new connecting to each other very much, very strongly. Okay, so some of us felt it, some of us maybe didn't feel it so powerfully, but just the fact that some of us did shows that it is part of our inner being, and part of what we carry with us are the dreams for Jerusalem, at least for some of us. And that harks all the way back to these Psalms and Psalms like this. But now I want to take you, before we continue about it, I want to take you on a little guide, a tour of a Midrash. The Midrash rereads, let me just find it, just a minute. Okay. The Midrash rereads this whole psalm. Remember, what's a Midrash? People remember? It's explaining the text, but the words aren't in the text. It's explaining it in a different way and overlays a story or something else.
The word midrash was a clue in the AM words.
Was a clue in the what?
In the there's a free newspaper, AM, newspaper, and that was a crossword clue.
Oh, it was a crossword clue.
Oh, it's usually something that's not understood in the Torah, and it fills in the story.
Fills in the explanation.
I don't know if it's not understood, but it explains something. It could be it's understood, but the Midrash, it could be it is, and it could be it's not, but the Midrash adds to it. One second, I'm just finding where the
Not
explanation.
usually from the Talmud, the Midrash?
I mean, no, actually, the Talmud quotes Midrashim, but it's not specifically from the Talmud, not at all. As a matter of fact, it's more ancient than the Talmud. A lot of Midrash is more ancient than the Talmud.
Mm.
Okay, so here's the Midrash. I have to find I have it in Hebrew and English. Okay. The fifth verse, if everybody could look at their copy so that you see your verse, that would be very helpful. I'm looking at the fifth verse. The fifth verse is, behold, the kings convened, passed.
What psalm? What number?
We're on 48.
Oh, 48. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're still on 48. We haven't changed. This is what we say on Mondays, 48.
Yeah.
So, Hinei HaMelachim, here the kings convene. So the Midrash rereads who the kings are. Not the kings. Remember we spoke last time about non-Jewish kings coming and being in wonder of the city? Remember that? We said maybe they're trying to attack, maybe they're not. And we said maybe somebody even translated that our boats, our ships are broken, and that somebody even translated that we want our ships to be broken so that we won't have to go home. Not everybody does it. Other people comment that means that they literally were broken, meaning that the Jewish army managed to break the ships. They reread it. This Midrash rereads it as the two kings being Judah and Joseph. Yehudah, Judah, and Joseph. We just read this story in the Torah. We literally just read it the last few weeks. So the story of Joseph, remember being viceroy in Egypt, the dreams. Anybody here watched the play Joseph is Technicolor Dreamcoat or read it in the Torah? So the story of, so what happens? Joseph gets sold as a slave to Egypt because his brothers were so jealous and angry at him. And he ends up being thrown into prison, but then he's rescued from prison, becomes second only to Pharaoh in Egypt. There were 7 years of famine. There were 7 good years. And Joseph is named viceroy. He puts away stores in the storeroom. And then during the 7 years of famine, is this familiar to people?
Yes.
Okay. During the 7 years of famine, his brothers come because there was famine in Canaan as well, in Israel. And they come down. He immediately recognizes them. They don't recognize him. A lot of time has passed. They don't expect him to be viceroy of Egypt. He looks like an Egyptian, so they don't recognize him. And now there is Joseph plants his special cup in Benjamin's sack, and they discover it. And he says, all of you go back. I'm keeping Benjamin as a slave. And that's when Judah steps away from his brothers and confronts Joseph. Does he know that it's Joseph?
Nothing.
No.
He does not know. All he knows is that this is the viceroy of Egypt, second only, right? Second only to Pharaoh. And he gathers all his courage. I assume the brothers are looking like this in wonder that he's willing to stand up against Joseph. So here is how the Midrash reads it. These two kings. So who are the kings? Joseph is almost king in Egypt. He's a king. He's a type of king. And Judah is where David comes from. And Shlomo, Solomon, like the house of David, the house of Judah, I mean, is the one that brings the kings. Are people familiar with that? David comes from David, King David, and Solomon, et cetera, et cetera. And we say that Mashiach ben David, that Messiah, will come also from David's house, meaning from the lineage of Judah. And Judah, what is Judah's symbol? It's a lion, which we call the king of beasts. Whether it is or isn't, I don't know, but that's not the point. So it says from verse 5, when these two kings came together, we're talking about Judah and Joseph. The Midrash says, these are the kings, Judah and Joseph, and Avru Yachdav, meaning they passed together. This one became not Avru that they passed, became filled with fury Evra vazam is another way of saying fury against that one. And that one became filled with fury against this one, meaning Judah or Joseph made believe at least that he was very angry, that Benjamin as if stole his goblet. And Judah really is angry at Joseph because he's assuming that Joseph has made up all these stories and is keeping them as slave. It's rereading. I want to remind you, this is rereading the psukim. Yeah, Judy.
A question about the word no adu. Isn't the shorish of that aid and being testifying? No?
It can be, but no ad is somebody who's designated. So you could say that's connected.
Like appointed.
Like I think designated or destined. Yeah, it could be appointed.
Oh,
like
yes.
a moed is a yunt if it's a designated time. Yes. I mean, that has to do with ed also, a witness, that it all has to do with the same thing, but it's not witness per se. And then the next one, what's the next pasuk? Let's look at 6. Heimara'u kain tamahu. They saw it and they were astonished. Who saw this? Who witnessed this Judah coming to Joseph and were astonished? Any thoughts?
Maybe the other brothers?
The other brothers. Very good. The men wondered to one another. So it quotes a pasuk in the Torah that says the men, meaning the brothers, wondered. And what happens next? Also in verse 6, Nibhalu nechpazu. They were terrified. They hastened. So the Midrash says, Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? And what happened to the brothers? They were so awestruck, amazed, terrified, they couldn't speak. They were alarmed. So the Midrash bounces between verses from the Torah and verses from this psalm. And what happens next in verse 7? A fearful trembling seized them. These are the tribes. They said, kings are contending with one another. What? Is it appropriate, or it is appropriate for a king to contend with a king? They now at this moment see Judah taking on the raiment and the role of king. They see him as taking responsibility, stepping forward and acting like a king, because only a king can step up against another king. That makes sense? You can't have a lowly peasant stand up in front of a king. And then what happens? 1 second. This is, then it quotes from Job, which feels like out of left field, but it has to do with Vayigash Yehuda. Remember, it said Judah approached Joseph. If you remember, 2 parshiot to go. Vayigash Yehuda, Vayigash Elav. So Judah approached him. So only ones who can approach one another. And this is another interpretation from Eov, from Job, not so important. But that interpretation is kings are contending with one another. And it quotes Eov for that explanation. So now I want to talk about why does the Midrash overlay this? Like, I just want to explain that there are 4 ways of explaining Torah. There's Pshat. Pshat is the simple explanation. So what would the simple explanation be? Jerusalem, right? It's about Jerusalem. It's about Jews seeing Jerusalem, how amazing it is, how they were awestruck by its beauty, the turrets and the palaces. They thought of how they have to rebuild it, how other kings from other nations came and were also in awe and astounded, and that the beauty, the holiness of God, remember we just spoke about this, is the nexus and flows through Jerusalem, and holiness actually permeates out from the temple to every part of Jerusalem. A commentary said, to the museums, to the houses, to everywhere. It's true. If you walk, Joan, you didn't have that opportunity, but there are beautiful, narrow streets in Jerusalem that just feel so gorgeous to walk. And in fact, in the Psalm, it says you must walk it. You will only really feel it if you walk it. And maybe next time you do go to Israel, Joan and Moshe, you can actually find places to walk in the alleys and streets of Yerushalayim, of Jerusalem, to feel more of the beauty and not just feel the commercialism, which of course is going to come to Jerusalem because people still like to eat out and have stores. But it does feel like you were caught in that bubble of commercialism. So my wish for you is that you will get to be able to feel a little bit more Moshe. I think that I am charging you with taking Joan on a little bit of a walk to see it, to see more of, the old and ancient beauty. But continuing on. Okay.
question on
Yes.
Achazatam. Does that have anything to do with Achuzah? Like
Yeah, well,
like
lechaz means to grab, and
Yeah.
achuzah is when you have something that you own, a piece of land. So that's where it's connected. It's as if you grab and hold of that land because it's yours.
So can we learn about that in here from the the Achuzat of the land? Yeah, that they were no.
I mean, you could, but it does flow with the pasuk nicely. You don't need to add a midrashic interpretation. You could, but it's not like it doesn't fit with the verse. I mean, a trembling sees them. That's
okay.
You know what I mean? So it's okay to translate it on a pshat level.
Thank you.
The next level after midrash is perush. Wait, pardes. What is reish? Well, one of the next levels is drash or midrash. And midrash really often feels like it's just overlaying a whole different way of reading it. And if you think about it, it sort of has nothing to do with Jerusalem here. The only thing it does have to do with Jerusalem is the fact that if Judah takes kingship now, and where is the seat of kingship in Israel?
Jerusalem.
Jerusalem. So perhaps that's where whoever wrote the Midrash had that idea that let's talk about the first moment when the king of Israel, who all of his house will be future kings, or most of them, that's when he connected to Jerusalem. That's when Jerusalem got crowned, so to speak, with who will be the king there. Does that make sense to people? So this way of explaining the Midrash, so bear with me for a moment. It's not so much the content of the verses, but if you think about this psalm, it's all about how to envision Jerusalem. The whole thing is really a description of what Jerusalem is and its gorgeousness and its holiness and how awestruck we are. So everybody close your eyes for one moment, even you, Joan, and imagine, even you meaning even if you didn't feel that, just take a snapshot in your mind of one thing you loved in Jerusalem, just one, doesn't matter what it is, the white stone, the wall, it doesn't matter. One thing that you found beautiful about Jerusalem. Everybody put that in your mind. I'm imagining coming up the mountain. I'm seeing the white stones of Yerushalayim. I'm breathing in the feeling that occasionally in the old city, it feels like you're in a stage or in a kind of a play or something like that, because it's the stillness. I'm thinking of the way the old city with the gates, like the Jaffa gate or the other gates. I'm thinking of walking along some tree-lined streets. I'm thinking of the fact that we're up in the mountains and it's cooler and we have a little bit of a relief from the heat, maybe in the summer, sometimes not during the day, more at night. So everybody, it's all about depicting Jerusalem as this gorgeous place. And now, replace for a moment, let's take a step back. And now I want to replace that whole scene with a scene of Judah approaching Joseph. And what a momentous, monumental scene that is. So momentous that the Torah spends a lot of time telling the story of Joseph and then spends a lot of verses just talking about these other brothers. And it's all the brothers, right? All 12 brothers are together. So one brother is Joseph. The other one is Judah. Even Benjamin is there. So we have 10 brothers. And we are also looking at the scene. We're in the king's palace, Pharaoh's palace. Joseph maybe is even elevated. And Judah actually approaches him. And in that moment, Judah becomes the future king. And the connection is through the fact that Jerusalem is the seat of power, beauty, and holiness in the land of Israel. You can open your eyes now.
That scene happens in Egypt.
That scene happens in Egypt. Fantastic. I love that. It does happen in Egypt. But its goal is to come to Israel. And in fact, the end of Vayechi, which we just read the Shabbat, Joseph makes his brothers promise that his bones should be brought back to Israel. He never felt at home in Egypt. He always wanted to be brought back to Israel. But what the Midrash does, right? And that's fine that you did it. I just want to explain the Midrash, that the Midrash is saying, this is it, guys. Here's the turning point. This is the turning point of melachim, of kings. That's what the Midrash is telling us. Any thoughts about that? I loved it. I thought it was just cool. I never would have thought of it.
Now, the capital of Israel. And
Jerusalem. Yeah, right. That's true. That's more politics, but yes. It's a little bit more about politics. Robert Kalfas, you came a little, 1 second, Moshe. Everybody had an opportunity to say the first time you saw Jerusalem, what it felt like for you. So you want to share that? But put your video on. There you go.
Back in 1970, it was amazing. I was able to be there and to walk on top of the wall, and the Jordanian gun emplacements which were there were not taken away, and we're able to see what the 67 war was like.
Elaine actually described that she was there before the 67 war and she had a
Wow.
different feeling of Jerusalem. Yeah, pretty amazing. We all came at different times. And by the way, that also shows how Jerusalem has evolved over time in a beautiful way. Yeah. Wow. Nice. Very nice, Robert. Thank you. In fact, Ammunition Hill, Givata Tachmoshet, that was left more or less as is, for the losses, actually. Okay. Any thoughts before we move on to another? Okay, so that's the Midrash. Okay. There's a story told in another Midrash. Story of a trader who went to the land of Israel in hopes of selling peppers. I don't know if that's green and yellow peppers. That might be peppercorns. I don't know. When he did not manage to sell any, he exclaimed, "Is this indeed the city which scripture refers to as joy of all earth," which is in our psalm? We have masos. Masos tasis is from joy. But then after he did manage to sell all his peppers, he again recited the verse, but then he recited in fuller form, "The Lord is great and much acclaimed in the city of our God. Beautiful view, joy of all the earth, Mount Zion." So what does that say? I think that that's an interesting Midrash to tell us. Any thoughts about that? It's kind of interesting that, first he kind of complained, this isn't really the joy of all earth. But then he realized that there's more to it, or because he was successful. Any thoughts about that?
Well, being in Yerushalayim gave him luck.
Oh, that's nice.
So it was very positive for him. Positive, and it's just an example for us.
Okay, that's nice. Yep. Just seeing other parts about the joy of all. I just want to read that verse. Anybody else have a thought about that? I just want to pick that verse to read to you. Here it is. It's verse 3. Yefei nof, most beautiful. Nof, by the way, is like your scene, the scene that you see in front of you. Like you might say the nof. Well, what I see out of here is some trees, so that's kind of nice, but it's more like beautiful scenery, that you might see out. So Yefei nof means most beautiful. Mesos kol haaretz, joy of the earth. So that's what, but I just wonder if the reason that Midrash is telling that is because it's so easy when things go poorly to complain. When things don't go so well, to immediately be downhearted and to complain and to accuse God. I'm wondering, because it's hard to know what to take from this Midrash. At first he used it as, what are you talking about? This isn't a place of joy. Oh, well, actually, yes, it is. So it's just an interesting take and perhaps a commentary on life. Okay. That does not interest us. Moving on. Okay. I want to now divide this, we have a few minutes, into two parts. the first section of the psalm. How would you divide it? Anybody read it? See how you would divide it. You can use the English.
We're still on verse 48. I mean, Psalm
Yeah,
48.
yeah, we stay with the same psalm the whole class. We'll do a new psalm next time.
It-
Ellen is going to make a
the
suggestion.
natural place
Yeah.
is where it divides
Which verse?
in the Tanakh, in this one.
Oh, you see a
which
physical
is-
division, yeah.
Which is between 9 and 10
Between 9, 10. So 1 to 9,
is one,
and then,
And
okay.
10 to the end.
Okay, who thinks that that's a good way to do it? 1 to 9, and then 10 till 15? 15. I think that actually makes sense. Anybody else? If you want to look at it. Is it
Because from 10
Svakot?
on
Yeah.
is descriptive of the city, or telling you how
Yes.
to approach the city.
Yes,
And how to appreciate it.
So what would be the first part, and how would we give a sentence describing the first part? 1 to 9, and then 10 to 15. Any thoughts?
1 to 9 is a lot more difficult.
1 to 9 is more difficult. What's difficult?
I guess because after you talked about the Midrash of the kings in Judah, initially we thought of it, or it seemed as if there were kings coming to invade it.
Yes.
And they were going to be
That's the
terrified.
pshat. Yes, and that's still the pshat.
And there, and they're terrified. They see the might of God, and so it makes.
I
them
think we can
forward.
stay with that. We don't have to stay with the midrash. You can stay with the
And
pshat.
so that's what that whole thing is about, that God built or God created this powerful nexus.
Yeah.
Powerful city.
Yeah.
And then the second part is walk around it and appreciate it.
Okay. So the first one would be about God created this amazing or awesome, yeah. And then the second part would be it's calmer. It's just sweeter, it's calmer. Okay. Everybody with me on that? Other people have different way to divide it or to summarize the first and second part?
That's good.
Joan, how are you doing with that? You
I'm
know
trying
English,
to
you can
read
read
it.
English.
I have a little trouble. I just came from my treatment, so I'm a little out of it.
Oh, okay. So you can listen.
So that's why I'm not talking too much. But that sounds, the last part, I'm trying to read it and it's hard for me to see it, but it seems like you're asking God for kindness and I can't say too much right now.
I understand. So everybody, you can just listen and go with the flow, and I'm going to go along with this. The
Okay.
first section of the psalm focuses on Jerusalem from the perception of the nations. So that's one way, and that's what Ellen basically was saying. She's like, what are you talking? So we're moving away from the Midrashic, right? We're going back to the Pshat. For them, the city represents God's holiness because it is a city that causes people to praise God. Its beauty befits the dwelling of a king. Its high walls demonstrate the protection God provides for God's people. And mortal kings who see the city are seized with a trembling similar to a woman giving birth. That's one of the phrases. Or similar, this would be a simile actually, to ships smashed into the water by the storm. So that this explanation says, no, this is all a parable, right? It's ships being smashed. That's just about the fear we have or about God's power. These kings testify the reports we heard about Jerusalem are true. We attest they're exactly what we personally beheld. Jerusalem is truly the city of the God of hosts. And we spoke about the fact that God of hosts, Svaot, that Sava is army, and it's usually used to show might. So that would be the first part. People go along with that? Makes sense?
Yeah.
I like this. I like that. I thought this as well. The second section, this is a beautiful way to describe it, is an insider's view of the city. I thought that was such a nice way to describe it. After citing a prayer of the people requesting that Jerusalem should forever continue displaying God's affection towards God's people, this section exhibits the close relationship the people of Israel have with Jerusalem. The people, so it's kind of like external, looking at it, right? The first part, from not the insiders. And when I say insider, I mean, the code of insiders, kind of. The people are inside the city, circling its walls, something that Robert said that he was able to walk. I also mentioned last time that I walked on the walls twice, and it was beautiful. They do it on Shavuot night or on Yom Yerushalayim very often in Israel, or they used to. I don't know if they still do. Counting its towers, climbing through its palaces. We are granted access to the people's thoughts and hopes as they stand in the temple. The psalm praises God's attributes. This is something we talked about a little bit. Tzedek or Mishpat, and Tzedek, something and Mishpat. Wait, I have that somewhere. It's Chesed, Tzedek, and Mishpat, kindness or righteousness, justice, and kindness, righteousness, and justice, which has to do with the 13 attributes of mercy, which we can find some of those in there as well, that emanate from the city. I wonder how you see that emanating from the city. It's interesting. The section finishes with an imperative to Israel to continue nurturing our rapport with the city.
Succeeding generation.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Next generation, which will grant us the ability to convey the unique bond we have with Jerusalem to future generations. So this was a great way of really, I feel like next Monday, when I read Psalm of the Day, I'm going to feel it differently. I'm going to look at it differently. I'm going to understand it a little better, which is, joyous for me that I have that opportunity. And then it continues. Psalm 48 has withstood the sands of time. Throughout the ages, the concept of Jerusalem has inspired and challenged the world at large. And as for the Jewish people, as a people, our loving connection to Jerusalem has never faltered. We face Jerusalem in prayer, right? We always turn to the east or west or north, depending on where you are in the world. Remember Jerusalem at joyous occasions. Mourn for Jerusalem and hope for the return of Jerusalem's glory. And for some people, it often feels like I'm home again. Now, that often feels that way in Israel in general, just to be among other Jews. That can be a feeling for the Jewish people. Some people have shared that. Not everybody, just because we yearn for it, it doesn't mean everybody's going to feel it the first time. But Jerusalem is so front and center in our prayers, in our thoughts, in our dreams, in our hopes, in our description. And this psalm really, so interestingly, is chosen for Monday for that reason. And I still want to challenge people a little bit. What would be the connection then between this and the second day of creation, when God separated the upper and lower waters and created firmament? So where might you see a connection? I want to invite people, not challenge people.
Is this the earthly manifestation? This is a
beautiful.
Yeah,
That's nice.
No, I'm sorry. As I said, I was a little out of it, but
no, you're waking up. I can see it.
Not too late, but when it says, "We hoped, oh God, for your kindness," and then it says, "Walk around the ramparts." So here, if it's a manifestation of a material manifestation, so that goes along with that.
Love that. That's gorgeous. I knew Joan would have something to say. Yeah.
Maybe the filament means, the sun. Maybe like the Torah is supposed to be like the sun.
I don't think so. I think the firmament is land, because when God separated the upper and lower waters, the sun is still outside the earth. So that's a little bit of a stretch, I think, for the second day of creation. And it says that God made the sun and the moon on a different day. So maybe not. A good idea, though. Any other thoughts, Robert? No, you're good. Elaine, any other thoughts? So one last word about Jerusalem from everybody. Let's go around. Ellen, last word about Jerusalem. I say Jerusalem. What comes up for you?
Things, stones.
Same
stones and touching them.
Stones and touching. Ooh, I have goosebumps. Robert Moshe, I say Jerusalem. What comes up for you?
The Kotel.
The Kotel, the Wailing Wall. Beautiful. Elaine, I say Jerusalem.
A lot of cats.
There are a lot of cats in Jerusalem. Right. Of course, also in the rest of Israel, but in Jerusalem for sure. Judy.
Yehi shalom.
May there be peace in your buildings. Shalva. How do you say shalva?
Serenity.
Serenity, thank you, in your palaces. Beautiful. That is about Jerusalem. That is a beautiful pasuk. Helen, I say Jerusalem. What comes up for you?
The Kotel.
The Kotel. Moshe, I say Jerusalem. We can't even see Moshe.
Yeah.
All we see is light.
And
Military history.
Military history. Beautiful.
Because I remember when you take the road, you always see like these trucks that tried to break the blockade.
Beautiful. Beautiful. There's a great museum
Military-
actually at
Yeah,
the
I know.
bottom of the hills of Jerusalem. Yeah.
Military history. And if you remember, one of the British generals gave Lloyd George the present of capturing Jerusalem on their Christmas.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, he
I
captured.
believe you. I just don't know about it.
All right.
Joan, I say, yeah, go on more.
Yeah.
And of course, the capture of Jerusalem during the Six-Day War.
Oh,
That's the most important thing. And that's where,
Got it.
unfortunately, that's where the Israeli army lost a lot of men because they couldn't send in,
Lot.
everything was hand-to-hand combat. They couldn't send in tanks, they couldn't send in heavy artillery, they couldn't, because otherwise they would have destroyed the whole city.
oh, that's interesting. Well,
Yeah,
for me,
Joan, yeah.
two memories now that came up. I went in those tunnels underneath.
Yeah.
And just seeing the enemies and what we suffered. And then I went to that museum. I remember
The burnt house.
it's a museum where they have objects, and it says, when the temple comes back, we're gonna have
Oh,
these.
that's a different one. That's the Mechana Mikdash. That's the temple museum. Yeah.
That's a different one?
Not the burnt house. Burnt house is different.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I didn't even know. I thought, what are they talking about? What is this going to be? But now I understand
Oh,
it.
that's wonderful. That's great. Robert, I say Jerusalem. What do you say? What do you think?
The Kohanim preparing for the return of the third temple.
When they have the
preparing
priestly blessing on the Chagim,
Yeah.
you mean? The holidays? Have you
No,
been
no,
there for that? No.
preparing the objects, they're preparing.
That's what
the-
Joan was saying, Mechana Mikdash. I don't know if it's Kohanim though.
Yeah,
I think it's just it's people. Yeah.
my group, we walked through the Hezekiah tunnel, or the water
Yeah.
tunnel from the outside. We walked through that.
It's the May
Yeah.
Shiloh, right? That was called Nikbata Shiloh. Yeah. Chizkiyahu's tunnel. Yep.
I couldn't fit through it now. It's like,
I think you could, but yeah, you'd have to bend down. Okay, when
oh,
I
not
say
bent down, it's a matter of being
I think there's a place where it's a little more narrow. That's true.
too large, and also I had
That they built towards each
everything
other.
out of my pocket and carried it above my head,
Right.
my cameras, my
Nachon.
wallet, and everything.
the neck.
Yeah,
They built it like this, and then they actually met. It was a big deal that they met each other. There's a place where you can see they were a teeny bit off, and this is before they had all equipment like today. And I say Jerusalem, I think of the white stone. I love the white stone of Jerusalem. Jerusalem fills me with joy. All right, my friends, next time we will learn about the Psalm of the day for
Tuesday.
excellent. Yom
Wonderful
Shlishi.
class. Thank you so much. I never thought this
Which number is
so
that?
interesting. I never.
You know what? I will let you find that out. It's in every Siddur.
Yeah.
Well, we have a Tanakh.
I don't remember it by heart. I'm sorry.
We have a Tanakh,
But every Siddur has the Psalm of the
I know,
day,
I
so
know.
you should be able to find it. All right, my friends. Be well.
Thank
Have a good
you.
day. Bye-bye.
Your granddaughter.
Thank you.